This is Wave News Sunrise.
Good Monday morning, June 26th. Wow, what a storm that was that moved through our area yesterday. I'm Shannon Kogan with meteorologist Tawana Andrews. So we had a lot of reports of hail, wind, rain, all of it.
Yeah, we got some near baseball, softball-sized hail in some parts of Wave Country, multiple trees down across the area. So there's a lot of people who are waking up without power this morning. So maybe you're watching us on our apps. Hey, good morning. Hopefully your power gets on soon. I know they are working pretty quickly, but with all the trees down, with all the wind damage that we saw in some areas, it is going to be a steady process of getting that cleaned up. But looking at our storm reports, notice we are seeing so many of them just really widespread across the area, but there's a decent cluster of them in the Louisville metro area, and that is because of the multiple thunderstorms that moved through in a short amount of time. We even had a tornado warning for portions of the metro yesterday afternoon and evening, so thankfully things are a lot quieter across the region right now, even seeing clear skies for many of us as we're starting off the day. Your temperatures are sitting in the 60s across the region, and here's what we're expecting throughout the rest of the day. Watching all of that sunshine for the morning, a few extra clouds as we head into the afternoon, highs today into the low to mid 80s, and then we'll watch for some isolated showers and thunderstorms popping up across the region as we get into this afternoon and the evening. We are not expecting any widespread severe weather, but certainly could see some pockets of heavy rain with those storms as they move through. It's also going to be a bit breezy for today, with gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour as we head into the afternoon and the evening hours. And I want to make sure I point this out because, one, for those of you going to be traveling around today, if you're traveling on north-south roads, that's going to impact you a little bit more. But also, if you're in the middle of that cleaning process, especially with some of the tree damage that we had, and you're going to be climbing up trying to deal with those branches, this is something else that you want to keep in mind, some of those wind gusts around 25 miles per hour. As we head into the next few days, talking about those low to mid 80s for highs again for tomorrow, jumping into the upper 80s on your Wednesday, and then we're talking about that heat index jumping to near 100 degrees as you get towards Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But of course, the main focus is still the damage from the storms that we saw yesterday, the multiple rounds of rain through the afternoon, into the evening, into the overnight. And of course, that's left a lot of people without power. Of course, I've gotten so many reports from portions of Grayson County, Hardin County this morning, Kathleen, of people saying, we're still without power. I'm worried about the food in my fridge.
Oh, absolutely. You might want to make a backup plan for the food in the fridge, because I just checked LG&E's website, and at this point, we know their crews are working, but it still says assessing condition when you look at any of those power outages around the area. So let's take a look right here. In Louisville, right here in Jefferson County, in the Louisville metro, there it goes. Still at 3% of customers without power, 11.6 thousand customers out. So that number is going down, but also overall, the LG&E number is still sitting at 26,965, so just a little less than 37,000 folks. Let's check Crawford County, Indiana, still at the same number of customers without power over the last half hour, although how much work can crews really do right here, right now, while that sun is still not out? And still more than a third of folks without power in Grayson County, Kentucky, 6,100 people more than. And what's interesting is we look at Harrison County, Indiana, just 55 customers out right there. So we're keeping track of all of this. We know in the early hours of the morning, sometimes that progress will feel slow. You might wake up without power. The hope is certainly that you won't go to bed without power. We know those LG&E crews and all the other power companies will be on this, and we'll keep you updated on all of it. Shannon?
Thank you, Kathleen. Well, along with the power, the storms also knocked down trees and caused lots of damage across our area. We're going to show you some pictures that you sent in. But first, let's check in right now with Josh Ninke with a live look at some of that damage. Josh?
Hey, Shannon, yeah, so we've moved locations. We're now pretty close to the Northeast Regional Library in the Whips Mill Road area. Look behind me, we got another tree down. I'm going to step out of the way. We'll get you a closer look at this. I'll try and get my shadow out of the way, too. This is honestly more of what we've been seeing, is these trees that are just in the roadways, causing real trouble for a lot of folks as you're trying to get around. So we're back in a pretty heavily residential area. If this thing had gone another, I don't know, 2-3 feet in one direction, it'd be real hard for folks to get around. We saw plenty of these kinds of trees in roadways as we were making our way to this area. Something else, though, some good news. We did see some crews out trying to help clear some of this debris. Luckily, a lot of what we're seeing now is the leftovers from trees that used to be down. Lots of limbs and branches that are around, but ultimately nothing too dangerous when it comes to your commute. But obviously something like this isn't going to be done in just 5-10 minutes. Crews are going to have to take a little bit of time to get something like this out of the roadway. Another area where thankfully we've seen a lot of lights still on, so good news for a lot of the people here around this area here in Linden. So obviously a difficult morning for some people as they start to get their day started. We've got the sun starting to come out here in just a little bit. Light is starting to creep back in so we can get a real good look at some of this damage that's here around the area. We'll show you a little bit more coming up here in the next half hour. Live here in Linden, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Thank you, Josh. And the storms hit parts of Indiana, too, as they rolled in. About an hour away from Louisville, a hotel at French Lick Resort suffered extensive hail damage during the severe storms. A little after 5, security at the West Baden Springs Hotel says softball-sized hail pelted off and then into the well-known atrium. The hotel is a U.S. national landmark, and advertisers call it the 8th wonder of the world. The building opened in 1902. For the first decade it was open, it was the largest dome in the world. Hotel staff says safety protocols went into place when the hail started. Guests were evacuated to the basement and no one was hurt. French Lick posted on Twitter saying West Baden Springs Hotel received extensive hail damage. The hotel is still open for guests, but the atrium is now closed indefinitely. They say they are still monitoring the situation there. And look at this unbelievable video from central Indiana. People caught this suspected tornado in the Bargersville area in Johnson County. The town's fire chief says the suspected twister cut a path of about 3 miles. Officials are asking people today to try to stay clear of this area so crews can clean things up. There are reports of trees down. About 10,000 people didn't have power, and at least 75 homes were damaged too. Thankfully, no reports of anyone hurt. An emergency shelter has been set up right now at a local middle school for those who don't have a home right now.
As our crews are doing their secondary searches right now, the one thing that we wanted to do was just make sure we're talking to everybody in the neighborhoods.
The National Weather Service out of Indianapolis says 2 survey teams will be sent to Johnson County to take a look at the damage, and another team will respond to an area of damage in Martin and Monroe counties. And we're continuing to assess all the damage in and around Wave Country. You can follow along on air and online at wave3.com. You can also download the Wave News app to get the latest updates right to your phone. Old National Bank announced they will be permanently relocating its downtown Louisville operations last month, and today that new location is expected to open. The bank CEO says the move was made out of respect for the Old National team members lost during that mass shooting. The bank will move its downtown office to a space on West Market Street that was previously a Stockyards Bank and Trust branch. Bank leaders hope to have the new office open today. A man who was shot in the Southland Park neighborhood over the weekend has died, and now 2 teens have been arrested in connection to his death. The shooting happened just after 9 Saturday night on Strawberry Lane, close to Iroquois Park. First responders took the victim to the hospital, but could not save him. LMPD says a 13-year-old girl turned herself in. They charged her with negligent homicide. Police also arrested a 15-year-old boy and charged him with tampering with evidence and possession of a handgun by a minor. The victim's name has not yet been released. This morning, we're learning more about a deadly shooting in South Louisville. It happened on South 3rd Street on June 17th. The coroner says 51-year-old Charles Evan Jr. was found shot at the Circle K. He was taken to the hospital, but he died. 43-year-old Delane Nolan was charged for that murder. Police say he had gotten into an argument with Evan before shooting him. Nolan also faces a charge of tampering with evidence. It is 6:07 right now on this Monday. Today's much quieter, Tawana.
Yes, and that is certainly some good news as we're starting off the day across the region. Certainly that quiet weather is what we really want and need, especially with that cleanup process that is ongoing. So what we're looking at right now, that chance for a few isolated downpours later on this afternoon, and that is it. Temperatures jumping into the 80s later on today. We'll watch for some breezy conditions with that wind coming out of the west. Keeping an eye on the roads, and just in a crash on 71 right by the Barber Lane overpass. This is going to be 71 northbound, smack in between the Waterston and the Snyder, and just getting word from TriMark that all lanes are blocked in this area as we have this crash. So you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, that is 71 northbound, and notice nobody is going underneath those tree branches. So this is a situation that we're going to continue to watch throughout sunrise and work to get more information on as sunrise continues.
Thanks, Tawana. And severe storms occurred throughout Wave Country yesterday, but we have no confirmed storm-related deaths here. Another state cannot say the same. We'll have the very latest about what state also received storm damage coming up on Wave News Sunrise.
This is Wave News Sunrise.
We weren't the only area to get hit by storms yesterday. Sadly, one person is dead after a system slammed down in Georgia. That person ended up dying from the severe thunderstorms. Downed trees and power lines were reported throughout Atlanta, leaving thousands without power. And that death was a 53-year-old man who was hit by a falling tree. He was out at the time walking his dog when it happened. Also, tornadoes touched down in parts of Minnesota, too, Saturday, and it was captured on video. A very active weather day with funnel clouds and multiple tornadoes there. One tornado was on the ground for about 5 minutes, and then a multi-vortex tornado lasted about 3 minutes. Rain and storms did weaken yesterday, so that's a bit of good news. So are we getting a break from all of this severe weather right now around the country, Tawana?
Well, today is certainly going to be quiet for a lot of the country, but as we head into later on this week, we can start to see more portions of the area, especially off towards our south, dealing with some more of that severe weather. What we're seeing right now, of course, so many storm reports from the system that moved through yesterday. All of those showers and thunderstorms that moved through, leaving behind all these reports of hail and tree damage, and in some cases, trees falling on homes. So thankfully, now for today, we're going to have mainly quiet weather to help with the cleaning process. Something else we saw yesterday, an incredible amount of rain. So this is the radar estimated rainfall accumulation over the past 24 hours. And everywhere you see the yellow and orange on your screen, that's between 2 and 4 inches of rain that fell. That was an incredible amount of rain. So the flooding issues on top of the hail and, of course, that tornado threat were things that we were watching yesterday, but things are a lot quieter across the region right now. Now, I'm going to really quickly update you on the traffic situation, especially since I know a lot of you are going to be out and about. So what we're looking at right now, 71 northbound between the Waterston and the Snyder. This is going to be in the Barber Lane overpass area. This is where all lanes are blocked because of a crash in that region. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on this pretty closely throughout the rest of sunrise. Good news is that the weather is quiet to help with that cleanup process from that crash. And we're seeing clear skies across the region for most of us, but some clouds right now drifting over portions of Kentucky. So after a pretty nice start to start off the day, as the cold front is making its way finally through our area. I mentioned a few of those clouds across Kentucky, and we're seeing exactly that showing up on our SkyTrack camera in Bardstown, but certainly making for a beautiful sunrise. So certainly that quiet after all of the storms. Temperatures mainly sitting in the 60s right now, but at the airport in Louisville, we've actually warmed up to 70 degrees. But we're going to see, of course, a little bit of a cool down just a bit more before that sun comes up, and then we'll be quiet for the rest of the morning with that temperatures eventually warming up. Your wind, quiet, calm for most of us, but as we get into the afternoon, guys, between 20 and 30 miles per hour, certainly possible, especially coming out of the west. And this is important not just for travel, but also for those of you cleaning up a lot of those tree branches as we continue throughout the day, and of course power crews as well as they work to get the power back on. As we continue throughout the rest of your Monday, we'll be talking about the sunshine to start, some extra clouds around once we get into the afternoon. Temperatures still warming into the low to mid 80s for highs. We do have to keep an eye on that potential for a few isolated showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon into the evening. So that's something that we'll have to watch, especially between the 4 and 9 p.m. time frame. That's the best opportunity to see some of these isolated downpours. A lot of us will get by without even seeing a drop of rain, but that's certainly something that you'll want to watch out for, especially if you're east of 65. Drier for your Tuesday and Wednesday as we warm up into the mid to upper 80s for Wednesday. Low to mid 90s for highs on Thursday and Fridays. That heat really starts to build, and with the heat comes higher humidity and also The heat index getting close to 100 degrees, so really heating up and feeling a lot like summer for the end of the work week. Along with that, we have to watch the potential for some showers and thunderstorms. You can see that as early as Thursday afternoon. Some models are waiting until Thursday night, so keep an eye on that trend. Don't be surprised if that Thursday rain chance goes up a little bit more. Some more rounds of rain for Friday, into Saturday, into Sunday, as you see multiple waves push through the area. And that's also going to help to cool us down a bit. So we'll see those highs back into the 80s for your Sunday, and then we'll warm right back up to near 90 as we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
All right, thanks, Tawana. You know, making dinner at home doesn't have to be expensive. The UK Cooperative Extension is helping us cook through the calendar with another recipe this morning, and this one's good for some summer parties, especially if you have a sweet tooth, too. Kathleen Ninke is in the kitchen right now. What are you guys making?
Well, the great thing is this is absolutely going to be for your sweet tooth, but it's not in the end really that sugary. Ruth Chowning is here with me from the UK Cooperative Extension. We're going through our recipe calendar that is heart healthy and diabetic friendly. Ruth, how in the world are we making a blueberry cheesecake bar that's heart healthy and diabetic friendly?
Well, first of all, we've got a crust that is a little bit less traditional.
Okay, so I'm going to start putting it together while you tell me about these ingredients.
A cup of graham cracker crust, some unsweetened applesauce. Normally you would add a cup of sugar, so we're going to cut that down. We're going to add in a third cup of applesauce.
It is still going to be good, and we still use a little bit of butter.
We do. Now, not a full stick, but you know you're going to use about 3 tablespoons. So you've got 3 tablespoons applesauce, 3 tablespoons butter. You're going to mix it in. It's going to be sort of a wet crust.
So while I mix this in, and then we're going to put it down in our little pan, but you've already done that for us. Tell me, what is the difference between this and this?
Okay, so one of the things, our crust is a little more heart healthy in the fact that your pre-made crusts normally are going to have a little more sugar in them.
Sure.
So they're going to be higher in sugar. And then if you go and buy the graham cracker crumbs, which you know they've already done the work of breaking up and breaking the graham cracker crumbs down, you're going to end up with a lot more sodium.
Okay.
So higher in sugar, higher in sodium when you use those conveniences.
And they are conveniences, but really this has been so quick and so easy. And you said just give the kid these and a little mallet and have them go to town crunching the graham crackers.
Exactly. So you're going to get it healthier. And if you want to make it smoother, I'll show you a little trick. Take the, just
I'll smooth this out. We have just about 30 seconds left, and I want you to show me the right way to zest a lemon, because I tell you, I'm bad at it.
Yes, and definitely a lot of people are. They tend to zest clear into the white pithy part of this of the outer skin, and that is what causes the bitterness.
Oh, and we don't want that.
No. So a large lemon, you're going to get about 3 tablespoons of zest. You just literally lightly go down the fine edge of your grater.
And there you go.
Small. And then you turn. So you just go and just turn. Go and turn.
This is easy.
Yes, and it gives you the,
it's all right there. We're out of time for right now, but we are going to put together these gorgeous blueberry cheesecake bars that I cannot wait to taste. 110 calories per bar and only 46 cents to make each and every one of them. I love it. Ruth and I will be back in a few minutes. Shannon?
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $4.4 billion in grants and scholarships.
Happy Monday, meteorologist Tawana Andrew here with a check of your 10-day. Today, we do see that potential for a few isolated showers and thunderstorms as we roll through the afternoon and evening, so we'll keep an eye on that, especially for those of you east of 65. For your Tuesday and Wednesday, 80s in the forecast, plenty of sunshine, and Thursday and Friday, hello summer, 90s showing up then, but with the humidity, going to feel like closer to 100 degrees. So yeah, very hot, very humid to end the work week. And we'll have to watch for some more of those showers and thunderstorms rolling in for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as that heat sticks around. So really going to be watching that warm weather around for the end of the week. I should say hot weather around for the end of the week. Once we roll into next week, of course, we have the 4th of July holiday, and everybody's going to be watching the weather for that. that, especially in terms of those fireworks. And we'll watch for some more of those showers and thunderstorms towards next Tuesday and Wednesday. So keep a close eye on the Wave Weather app for the latest updates.
All right, Tawana, thank you. The Community Connections Group has made strides in closing the 9th Street divide. The group held their 8th annual Best Medicine Diversity Dine-In. Their focus was mental health. They invited people from all over the community to ask questions, and they brought all these people together because they say it can be hard to find the right person to talk to if you're struggling with your mental health. And they say this is such a positive to have people together.
We started inviting people together who don't know each other. Once we talk, have a conversation, and find out we're not so different, we can begin the work to heal our city, the work to perform unity.
At the event, Mayor Craig Greenberg was named the Tom Wine Impact Award winner for everything he's done since he took office. And happening tomorrow, Mayor Greenberg will host his 3rd Mayor's Night Out, giving the public a chance to give input on community safety. You'll have a chance to meet the mayor, other Metro Council members, and leaders from agencies such as LMPD, Metro Public Works, Parks and Recreation, LG&E, and MSD. This will be Tuesday night from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Kennedy Center for African American Heritage. Well, many people waking up this morning, maybe without power, cleanup to be done now outside of their homes. Wave News reporter Josh Ninke will be live at one of the places hit.
This is Wave News Sunrise.
Well, after a lot of storms, often comes a rainbow, and look at that beautiful rainbow right there. This was sent to us from Stephen from Georgetown, Indiana. He says it appeared right after the rain, and it really is very pretty.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. And send us those pictures as well. I know a lot of people send in those rainbow pictures on the Wave Weather app, so keep those coming. It makes us all smile. Absolutely love it. And thankfully, we are not going to be seeing all that crazy weather that we saw yesterday and today. That's some good news right there. And this is what we're seeing as we're starting off the day. So some clouds still overhead in some spots. The sun now coming up over the horizon, actually going right back into that bank of clouds. But for many of you, it's a beautiful start to the day. But what happened yesterday was not so pretty, as we had all of those storm reports, from hail to tree damage across the area from the multiple rounds of thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms that pushed through the area. On top of that, we saw incredible amounts of rainfall. Notice everywhere you see the yellows and the oranges on your screen, that's 2 to 4 inches of rain that fell. Portions of Floyd County, portions of the Metro, from E-Town down into Greene County, dealt with all of that rain, in addition to the strong winds and, of course, the hail that we saw reported across the region. But thankfully, things are calmer this morning. We are seeing just a few clouds overhead, a lot of us seeing the clear skies, and that cold front is now making its way through our area, so that's going to gradually exit once we head into this afternoon. Your temperatures on the mild side this morning, as we're sitting in the 60s across the region. Over the next 12 hours, going to be talking about temperatures jumping into the low to mid 80s for highs. Watching for another chance for a few of those isolated showers and thunderstorms coming our way for the late afternoon into the evening. But keep in mind, we are not expecting any widespread severe weather. I know a lot of people still on edge from yesterday's storms, so things are going to be just pretty isolated as we get into the second half of today. It will be a bit breezy as well, with some of those wind gusts in the 20 to 25 mile per hour range for the afternoon into the evening hours. That wind coming out of the west. Keep that in mind if you're going to be cleaning up any of that debris later on today. Looking ahead to the next few days, warming up, eventually jumping into the upper 80s for highs on your Wednesday. And once we get towards Thursday and Friday, be fully prepared to sweat. And if you don't want to admit that you sweat, you'll be glistening, as we'll be dealing with temperatures jumping into the 90s for the end of the week. But at least for today, the good thing is that we have mainly calm weather in the forecast, Kathleen, as a lot of crews are going to be out and about cleaning up the trees and trying to put that power back on.
They really are, and apparently they're already doing a pretty good job of it, Tawana, because the entire LG&E area, what we have seen is a decrease in customers without power by 2,500 customers, and that's just in the last half hour here in these early hours of the morning. So let's check on some specific counties. Here in Jefferson County, Kentucky, still at 3%, a little more than 12,000 folks without power, so that number went up just slightly in the last half hour, but almost a negligible amount, though if it was you whose power went back out, certainly not negligible to you. This number has gone up. Grayson County, Kentucky, we're now 37% of folks without power, so the number has gone out just a little bit. Remember, as crews work on these things, sometimes the power goes back off for a minute, and it's all in service of getting it back on. Crawford County, Indiana, 2% of outages, 132 customers. That number has dropped significantly. Very glad to see it. Let's check in on Hardin County, Kentucky. We have more than 700 customers with power out. Yeah, it's 1% of the population, but those 700, that is a hard hit. 700 plus right there. We know Hardin County got some significant parts of that system that came through. But overall, the power outage numbers are going down. It's the trend we like to see. We'll keep an eye on it. Shannon.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. The wind and rain caused a lot of damage across our area. Cleanup process will get underway today for many. Josh Ninke is live this morning checking out one of the places impacted by that severe weather. Josh.
Hey, Shannon. Yeah, we did not have to take Storm Tracker very far at all to find more trees that are down. Look behind me here. We're on Old Whips Mill Road. We are essentially right at the end of it, right by Whips Mill Road. And you can see this tree right here. Looks like two trees actually just snapped, went right over into this pond area that's here behind a lot of these homes. As we were making our way over this direction, we ran over a bunch of tree limbs, a lot of debris just in the roadways. And luckily, though, nothing blocking the road at this point, at least in exactly this area. I can imagine there are a lot of people out right now getting, as we've got the sun up here, getting a first good look at what this all looks like here this morning. We have seen several crews out and about trying to do the best they can to get all the limbs, all the debris, all these trees that are just down all over the place up and get things going, make it feel like, I guess, a little bit of a normal morning. If we go down the ways, there's another little pond that has another tree that's blown essentially entirely over. It's got the roots sticking right up, so there's lots of debris, lots of stuff happening out here. So I want to caution you guys, if you're getting out this morning and getting ready to commute to work, please expect some sort of delay, kind of no matter where you're at, because there's odds are at least a few tree limbs that are going to get in your way and make things a bit of a problem. So hopefully you take the time. Lots of power, though, still on, so at least we got some good news in this area. Live here in Linden, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Thank you, Josh. And here's another tree that was snapped right out of the ground in PRP. This home's on Windsor Forest Drive near 3rd Street Road. We don't believe anyone was hurt. And then this is the Smoketown neighborhood. We saw a number of utility crews out and about trying to get power fixed and things working again after a lot of tree limbs fell on those power lines. The severe storms that rolled across central Kentucky yesterday also left thousands of people without power there. As of now, more than 9,000 Bluegrass Energy customers are without power in the Lexington area. Many of the outages were in Jessamine and Franklin counties. Bluegrass Energy says the company lost a transmission line that feeds several substations during the storms. The company also reported trees on some power lines and lightning damage, too, to some of their equipment. And JCPS adjusting some of their events for today because of the severe weather. They confirmed they've canceled all of their Backpack League, their Lit, and the events at the Elevated Student Learning Center for today. In other news this morning, in the case of a Shively Animal Clinic employee who was shot to death in the parking lot on Mother's Day, we learned last week the woman who pulled the trigger will not be charged. Now the family of TJ Taylor says they plan on holding a rally today. On Mother's Day, Taylor was shot and killed during a disagreement with a pet owner at Shively's Animal Clinic. Wednesday, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office called Taylor the initial aggressor, and a grand jury voted to not indict the shooter on charges of second-degree manslaughter and reckless homicide. Witnesses said the shooter came in upset and yelled at others in the clinic. Taylor's family says justice has not been served, and to honor TJ's life, his family wants to create the TJ Taylor Kindness Project. They want to raise money to make donations to local animal shelters and help customers pay for their pet bills. A woman charged in connection to a shooting that killed 2 people in Shively is set to appear in court today. Deshauna Harris faces 2 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of complicity to assault. The shooting happened at an apartment complex on Dixie Highway in Shively last September. Vincent Miller and Shaquilla Spratley were killed and another woman was hurt. The man accused in the double homicide at a Louisville sports bar is set to appear in court today. Police arrested 23-year-old David Morales. Investigators say he shot and killed Harris Buscalo and Alden Fernandez in the parking lot of Hoops Grill in April of 2022. Morales is charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and receiving stolen property. It's now 6:36. Tawana, much quieter today.
Yes, it is. Thankfully, we are not talking about any widespread severe weather in today's forecast. We do have to keep an eye on the potential for a few isolated downpours as we head through the afternoon into the evening. The best chance for some of these isolated showers and thunderstorms will be between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. today. So keep that in mind. Looking at the roads, still have a lot going on 71 northbound. This is going to be right smack in between the Watterson and the Snyder, where we have all lanes blocked on 71 northbound. Traffic is slowly getting around on the left shoulder, but it is very slow and is really starting to back up in that area. Also keep in mind with all the power outages that we have going on across the region, just remember to keep a lot of those lights that are out as 4-way stops and just take it slow as we still have a lot of tree branches and even some just full-on trees down across some roads across the region. We'll talk more about the storms we had yesterday and the heat coming away for later on this week after the break.
Well, a lot of people took pictures of that severe weather, and they sent some of those to us. So thank you so much, Kathleen Ninke and Tawana Andrew joining us right now to show us some of these pictures.
We have a lot to choose from, and you can see why people grab the camera when they see scenes like this. Tim from J-Town submitted this. What kind of cloud cover is this? What a severe line.
This is more looking like either the leading edge or the tail edge of a storm. And I saw the same thing when I was out and about yesterday because my husband really wanted Chipotle, and I was like, we're going before these storms roll in.
You know exactly when you can go.
And really, I saw the leading edge of these storms, and then I saw exactly this, the sunshine off into the distance. So as these storms rolled in, especially the leading edge, the anvil in some cases, that is what you see. A lot of people sent in pictures of the mammatus clouds as well as some of that. You see that hanging down there off into the distance, showing all the instability in the atmosphere.
Mother Nature gorgeous, also a little destructive.
A little scary.
So this is just south of Corydon. Mark sent that one in, so you see a little bigger than a quarter. But this is from Jeff in Corydon itself. It looks like a splash froze.
Basically, and keep in mind, this hailstone was bigger because it had to melt to even get inside his home and get to this point. Wow. So when you have the storms this high, all these hailstones are just bouncing up and down until they fall. So they end up getting as this big, and then eventually they'll melt and become these interesting shapes like what we see here.
It really, not anything near to a sphere, it seems at all. And then we've got this one in from Dean. He didn't say where this was. And same thing for Paul right here, but see the roots entirely ripped up. And then we have this from Lisa in Windy Hills, which we know got hit pretty bad. These are not tornadoes specifically that did these necessarily. So how fast does wind have to be going to really rip out trees like this?
Well, once you start to see those winds in the 60, 70 mile per hour range, like what we saw with some of those storms yesterday, this is the situation that you end up with, which is always a reminder, because I think a lot of people forget in these situations that it's not just a tornado warning that you have to pay attention to. The straight line winds with a severe thunderstorm can cause just
it doesn't matter if there's a rotation.
Exactly.
If those winds are going fast enough, wow.
They will knock that tree right over, which is why it's so important to have multiple ways to get alerts. My phones were going off yesterday. The TV was on. So just want to make sure that everyone is staying safe as possible and not like my neighbor who was walking down the street with her dog as everything was happening.
She should tune into the Wave Storm Tracking Team.
That's what we need, right? And we'll talk more about more of those storms and more of the heat coming our way in just 30 seconds. Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Tawana Andrew here at the check of your forecast. And these are storm reports over the past 24 hours. Notice just the lines of reports of hail and wind damage that we have across the area. Even some flood reports in some spots, as many of you saw, near 4 inches of rain yesterday, but thankfully things have calmed down significantly across the area. A few clouds still overhead, but a lot of us seeing clear skies to start off the day as we have that cold front making its way through the area right now. And this is beautiful and a little bit bright is what we're seeing right now on our SkyTrack camera. As you look from downtown Louisville towards the east, the clouds finally, really the sun coming up over the clouds right there, absolutely gorgeous. Your temperatures are sitting in the 60s right now across wave country with that wind light, less than 10 miles per hour. But as we continue into the late morning and then the afternoon, the wind gusting between 20 and 25 miles per hour coming out of the west. And while that's not super strong, for those of you who are going to be doing the cleanup process for today, for those of you who maybe work for a power company later on today, that's something you need to keep in mind because that wind could hamper some of that effort to clean up and to get some of that power back on. So just want to give you a heads up there. Also, we're going to be talking about plenty of sunshine for your Monday, especially for this morning, adding some extra clouds to the mix later on this afternoon, but overall still mainly dry for the majority of the day as we warm into the low to mid 80s for highs. Now, once you get past around 4 p.m., this is when we can see a few isolated showers, a couple of thunderstorms popping up across the area, and we keep that threat around through the 9-10 o'clock time period tonight. Not expecting any widespread severe weather, but some of you could see some locally heavy rain and a bit of lightning. Then eventually, once we get into the overnight, everything clears out. Temperatures falls down into the 60s. Jumping back into the 80s for tomorrow, mid to upper 80s on your Wednesday. And once we get towards Thursday, we're going to start to add that rain chance back into the mix, especially as we get towards Thursday night. This is when we'll see some more of those showers and thunderstorms moving in, keeping some rounds of rain in the forecast for Friday into Saturday as well. So stormy, yes, as we get into the upcoming weekend, but something to note is that each of these days does not look to be a complete washout. So if you do have any outdoor plans, it's just going to be very important to stay close to the Wave Weather app, get the latest updates if you're going to be outside for quite a while. Then the heat is also going to be the other thing that we'll be watching closely. Yes, highs into the low to mid 90s for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You add the humidity on top of that, it's going to feel like close to 100 degrees. So we're really going to feel like summer towards the end of this week. Now, we do cool down a bit for Sunday and Monday. Once everything calms down, we do get a front through the area. But by July 4th, we're talking about more of that heat and another round of some showers and thunderstorms returning to the forecast.
Thank you, Tawana. Do you have a sweet tooth? Because we're making something delicious in the kitchen this morning with the UK Cooperative Extension, and Kathleen Ninke is in the kitchen cooking this up. And what's great, too, is that this doesn't have that many calories.
It has a shockingly low number of calories. Absolutely, Shannon. So I'm here with Ruth Chowning from the UK Cooperative Extension. 110 calories per blueberry cheesecake bar. That sentence doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to start putting these ingredients together. We already have our crust. Ruth, how in the world did we make this recipe have only 110 calories per bar and be low in sugar and be low in saturated fat?
Well, what we know is through the University of Kentucky Nutrition Program, they look at old-timey recipes where you're used to using a whole bar of cream cheese. This one you use a half a bar.
Okay.
You know, we substitute for all the sugar, we're going to substitute in non-fat yogurt. Greek yogurt, which is nutritional value to it, you know.
Great protein, good calcium.
And only 1/3 cup of sugar. So it's going to be a lot less.
But it's gonna taste good?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll test it for you. I'll let you at home know if it tastes good. So I put all this in, I'm mixing it together, and then my next step will be to fold in the blueberries and the lemon zest that we've already prepared onto this graham cracker crust that we've already prepared. Let's talk about the inexpensive nature of this recipe, because dessert isn't always something that we can all afford, maybe, for dinner at home every night. So how much does this cost?
It's relatively inexpensive for each person. One of the things that happens, blueberries are probably your most costly right now. Blueberries are in season. So you can go look up, you know, look for your local farmer's market and buy you some blueberries fresh. You can always purchase, you know, frozen ones, but the fresh ones are going to have a better flavor to them. And then as far as cost, the other thing that would be high in cost would be the lemon. But right now, lemons are very much in season.
Well, there you go. This is just the perfect thing to take to your summer barbecue potluck.
That's right.
That's it. Okay, and so we take this, we put it in the oven.
Yes, and you bake it at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. Now, it can't jiggle.
It can't jiggle.
No jiggling.
So what you want is no jiggle. Okay, we have 30 seconds. Time for me to try this. I've been working so hard all morning. I've earned it.
Taste it. Taste it. It's 110 calories.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's worth it, you know, those calories when you're going to make something nutritional. And this is a diabetic friendly, but it's you don't sacrifice flavor, do you?
You don't at all, and you're not even really using sugar alternatives. You're just using these very natural ingredients.
Yes.
An incredible recipe here. We're going to post it at wave3.com. It's also the UK Extension, Cooperative Extension's recipe calendar.
That's correct. And people can contact their local extension office if you'd like a recipe calendar. This is the June recipe, so take it to a potluck coming up if you have one.
Perfect, seasonal.
Yes.
Nutritious, inexpensive. We'd love to see it. Sending things back to you.
And it tastes good, right?
It tastes so good. I'll just finish off the plate. Sorry, Shannon.
Sounds good. Well done. Thank you, Kathleen. Well, you will have to shell out a bit more money if you're crossing over the Ohio River soon. Riverlink has released new toll rates for 3 bridges between Louisville and southern Indiana starting this Saturday. Rates will range from $2.52 to more than $15. The rates are based on the number of axles on your vehicle and how you choose to pay. A Riverlink transponder gives drivers a chance to save a few bucks per crossing. The new rates will take effect on the Lincoln Bridge, Kennedy Bridge, and Lewis and Clark Bridge. All the cute animals need to step aside. That's because it's time to crown the world's ugliest dog. The world's ugliest dog and his owner will join the Today Show to talk about why it's so important to celebrate and adopt dogs who need a little more love.
I'm Josh Ninke live here in Linden, and the scene behind me, not an unfamiliar one. I'll have my photographer take a closer look at this tree that came down in the storms yesterday. We're getting a first good look at all of this damage as the sun has now risen. This is, again, a pretty familiar scene around here. We've been driving around throughout the morning, seen, I don't know, 10, 15 trees down just in this area. We're in the old Whips Mill Road area. If you're heading out this morning, please be careful. There are lots of these trees causing plenty of slowdowns, especially in some of these more residential areas. We'll, of course, have more throughout the rest of the day as people start to clean up a lot of this damage here and across the rest of Wave Country. So live here in Linden, Josh Ninke, Wave News. Kathleen?
And Josh, people are waking up to damage maybe outside of their homes and maybe no power inside of their homes. We are still looking at widespread outages, though the number's gone down about 1,000 in the last half hour for right here in the Louisville Metro and Jefferson County. About 3% of customers without power. Hardin County, I know you got hit hard. We're seeing this number, 724, with customers not having power. That number has stayed steady. I know they're working on it. And then some of our harder hit counties finally seeing the numbers go down in Grayson County, Kentucky. We're at 35% of customers without power, 6,100. And then let's check real quick on Crawford County, Indiana. Crawford County was one of those last counties to get hit by one of the final rounds that came through. 232 customers without power. So that number going down just a little bit. We'll be keeping an eye on all of this. LG&E at this point is saying they're assessing the condition, so they don't have a lot of estimates for when you might get your lights back on. So cross those fingers and try to be as patient as you can. We know crews will be out all day and probably all week. Tawana?
Yeah, they certainly will be working very, very hard. Keeping an eye on the roads and a quick update for you. 71 northbound still shut down in the Barber Lane overpass area, and that is because of a crash in that spot that has all lanes blocked. But traffic is getting by on the side, so hopefully they're able to get that moving pretty quickly. We're seeing plenty of sunshine overhead, which is good news after all the storms that we saw yesterday. Temperatures are sitting in the 60s for many of us to start off the day, and what we're going to see over the next 12 hours, those same temperatures jumping all the way into the low to mid 80s for highs. We do have to keep an eye on the potential for a few isolated showers and thunderstorms later on this afternoon, especially for those of you further to the east of 65. A bit breezy for today as well. Keep that in mind if you're going to be cleaning up any of that debris today, with gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour for the afternoon coming out of the west. And here is what we're looking at for your 10-day, heating up to round out the week, highs into the 90s by Thursday and Friday, and then we'll have to watch for more of those showers and thunderstorms then. And once we get towards Thursday and Friday, by the way, we could feel like close to 100 degrees.
Ooh,
hello
96.
humidity.
Oh, but low humidity?
I said hello humidity.
Oh, hello.
No.
I got really excited for a second.
No.
A dry heat's nothing.
Exactly. Okay. Take me to Palm Springs. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Get live streaming news, 24-hour weather, investigations, podcasts, and more. All for free with Wave Now. Watch on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and the Wave News app.